everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your not-so-secret identity?
Mwahaha! You might know me from various projects in animation and gaming, but my name is Mick Wingert.
I expected Dracula to come out.
In the Count! No.
Oh, it's really funny because I've been watching a lot of in preparation for the new Mummy movies. I've been watching the Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi movies again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff because I'm a nerd.
I think it's really underappreciated, and I think it's because we're so used to, the gritty, real, microscopic acting style of modern cinema. Those guys, they seem like they're big hams, but they're brilliant actors. It's just that the acting style is totally different back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Like, they were bringing some great emotional reality. They're compelling to watch on film if you give them a shot, right? And if you try to see it with that lens, like it's a different acting style. Gosh, Lugosi, what he did in his famous Dracula movie was just chilling.
It's so, and I feel like you can still take that, even though it's a different style, and adapt it today. When you go into the booth or if you go on stage, all of that fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're still I coach voiceover when I'm not in session. I coach here in the Los Angeles area, and there were times where, the writers today, even young millennial writers, are still referencing tropes and still referencing comic stylings and old gags from 30s and 40s films. And so from being familiar with that kind of, reference callback, whether it's Dr. Frankenstein saying, "It's alive! It's alive!" Or "I never drink wine." Whatever it is, you're still seeing that in modern-day audition scripts and episode scripts all the time.
And it's so great to see, the origin of that and how it's evolved, and I feel like that gives you a better understanding. This is a really interesting topic that we accidentally started on, but I'll go with it.
Hey, I'm easy.
So, out of curiosity... sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up. I think it really is, an interesting, callback to just the timelessness of what some of these moments are from American cinema history, right? And that they're still being used today.
Well, I imagine that's super useful too when you're in the booth, right? And you're given a script, and it's like, we need you to be this octopus pirate, and you can kind of, but make it sound like so and so from whatever movie, and then you have that reference there that you can kind of merge into your performance. I'm sure that happens a lot.
It happens so often, In fact, when I'm coaching, or actually even when I'm auditioning for various things, there'll be times where I'm like, I am not familiar with this reference. I had better look that up. And usually because of the kind of guy I'm a nerd like you are, self-professed. So I'm probably more familiar with the older stuff than I am with modern day references. But sometimes I'll have to look somebody up and go, oh, he's a celebrity? Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Oh, that's a show. All right, then.
Yes, you have to. You're not the only one, believe me.
Thank you. I'm glad to know that. So, yeah, I have to look stuff up all the time, and it's really important to know, what's going on in the world or what has happened in cinema and television history to be able to just catch the references.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, lately I've seen a trend in a lot of, I would say, strong female kind of, whether it's commercial or video game, this is the one reference they keep using is they use, I think it's Jennifer Lawrence from the Hunger Games. And I've never seen those films, but I've seen enough clips at this point that it's like, okay, I understand what you're going for. But you see those kind of trends pop up based on, popular movies and media that show up in your slides and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. And they'll ask for, we want that real unabashed man sound, like Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec. And that's one that comes up all the time. Will Ferrell and Anchorman, or Parks and Rec. Nick Offerman in Parks and Rec, and thankfully I have seen Parks and Rec, and I'm familiar with Offerman's stylings. I think he's hilarious. But that was one, like, I was sitting back going, look, if I didn't know what this was, I'd have to seriously spend time looking it up. Or sometimes they'll send you YouTube clips that are, in reference with, there's montages of these actors' work. And it's not that they're looking for the impression, it's that they want that same feel. They want that character to have that same kind of arrogance that Offerman does as his character in Parks and Rec, and or Jennifer Lawrence brings to the Katniss character in Hunger Games. Like, they're looking for that archetype, and that's what pops into their mind is like their go-to fulfillment of what the archetype looks like.
Well, now, I'm glad that we kind of got into the subject, because it's a great segue into voice matching. And one thing that I really enjoyed looking into, your resume and stalking you on the internet in a nice way, is that it's a nice way. I didn't try and steal any hair or anything. No, I'm kidding. I don't even live in Los Angeles. But for the fans out there, I kind of want to talk about Kung Fu Panda, because you actually got to voice match Jack Black, and it's a fantastic read. Like, listening to a lot of the snippets, like, you did a spot-on job, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that compliment. I love playing the character of Poe, and what's interesting is I don't actually match Jack outside of that character a whole lot. Not that I'm opposed to, or that I think he's opposed to, or anything like that. It just hasn't lined up that way. It's more circumstantial. But when I was getting into doing Poe, it was actually one of the hardest voice matches I've ever done, and the reason why is because my voice already sits where Jack's sits, and so the difference between our voice wasn't some sort of, like vocal parlor trick I could put on it. It wasn't like, Jack speaks with a bubble voice, so I could talk like this, and I'm Jack Black, right? It wasn't an easy handhold, as I would say. It was more about, like, he just forms his words differently than I do. I'm more Central California, Fresno, Bakersfield, Midwest influence, agriculture town, and he's a lot more Southern California, Long Beach, Orange County kind of thing. So, like, he does a lot of flat vowels like this when he's talking, and his articulation's a little different, especially when he's doing his funny thing, because then he'll like overemphasize for comedic effect. And every once in a while he'll go up here like this just to get an extra squeeze of laughter from what he's trying to do. And it wasn't until I figured out that it was literally just how I'm forming my words that I got it. I spent a whole weekend like pulling my hair out going, I don't sound like this guy. I don't know what I should hold on to. Because you do your parlor trick imitations like Schwarzenegger or whatever, and you just put on a really thick Austrian accent, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, you're the Terminator. That's funny." And it's easier to do those kind of cartoony ones, but when it comes down to like really, how does this person speak? It's a whole other. At least for me, it was a whole other gambit.
I think this is really good, not necessarily advice, but really good for a lot of the listeners to hear, that when they think, voice acting is just, doing an impression, or for the people who are kind of into voiceover, and they're like, how do I sound like somebody else? I'm so happy that you identified, you're in the ballpark of, like, his range, but you were trying to figure out how to get closer. And, just very subtle changes sometimes can make a world of difference.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's totally fascinating. I wish, I've already mentioned that I coach. I wish I was actually better at teaching people how to voice match. But I only do it by ear, and it's like when I'm hearing, it's almost like they're sending all of their voice through their nose, and that's why they talk like this a lot. I mean, you got your Owen Wilson kind of a thing, and not that my Owen Wilson's really great, but the one thing I have identified about Owen Wilson is that he talks through his nose like that. and Jack Black, he's got those real lateral sounds. He's got that really wide, thin kind of delivery on his vowels and his, some of his consonants and stuff. If you can, locate those idiosyncrasies, those usages of the human instrument, that's what makes a really good voice match. I have a friend who does an incredible John Goodman. He does an incredible John Goodman and has been able to keep up with John Goodman's voice as John Goodman has aged. And so it's fascinating to watch my friend go from, doing young Sully, which I can't do, but he does this like young Sully, hey Mikey kind of a thing, and then he'll go into more modern John Goodman stuff for like when he's doing trailers and stuff, and it's a lot more gravelly and it's a lot more, you can hear the scotch in his voice, and it's really fascinating.
No, that sounds really neat. I think one of the first things I learned in voiceover when I was actually trying to expand out of radio a little bit was you can have your voice come out of different places, which sounds really strange. But for example, the top of your head or your nose or your throat or your chest. Yeah. And when you kind of know that, sometimes if a read or a character isn't working out, you can just take that small little advice and try and change where the voice is coming out, and that can change the entire read. Yeah. I
would agree with that, absolutely. It's fascinating to sit back and study.
So you mentioned your class quite a few times. Is there any place where people can keep up to date when upcoming workshops are coming up, or would you like to talk a little bit about where they can find more additional information?
Absolutely, and just to, I don't need to make it a major plug, but my website is mickwingert.com, and the first thing you'll see is a picture of me with my demos, and you can listen to your heart's content. And
cape.
If you'd like, but at the top there's a drop-down menu for coaches and classes and coaching, and that's where you'll see the list of the things that I offer, and they're usually live events. I am working towards putting together more virtual events so that I can eventually start coaching people remotely. I'm doing some remote coaching in the greater Los Angeles area right now as a kind of test mark to see how well it goes and that kind of thing. But eventually I'd love to be hosting webinars and that kind of thing as well. So you can keep an eye on mickwingert.com for those kinds of announcements. Follow me at Mick Wingert on Twitter, because I usually, when I have a class, I'll post to Twitter and do that kind of thing.
So my question here is, I think under the private coaching, I do see some Skype sessions that might be the ones you're testing. But do you require just a voice, or do you require a webcam as well? Because I find some teachers like to see the physicality of what the voice actor is doing.
Definitely. I can do voice-only Skype coaching, but honestly, I would prefer if the student had a webcam, because there is so much that goes into the physicality. Even if the director or the coach, the person in my position, is not saying, stand with your shoulders back a little farther, or don't move your hands as much, even if we're not speaking to that, the ability to see that while you're performing will give us a good indication of what's either helping you or holding you back as you're trying to create from an acting standpoint. It's very helpful to see the visual.
I'm one of those crazy hand-moving people while I talk. My hands are everywhere. Just, I'm that person.
And yes, I'm the same way. So I love to see, because I know that I'm, a hand mover when I talk. I like to see, what the actor's doing, because sometimes they will literally tell you what's wrong. Oh, look at how angry your stance is. No wonder this line is not coming off the way that you want it to. So let's change the body posture a little bit. Hold a soft drink in your hand. Mime a soft drink. And even though that's not something we can see on the microphone, just that relaxation of having something in your hand, like a favorite beverage or whatever, can just put you in a much more relaxed state as you're beginning to approach the copy.
I think that's great advice. So I have a question, because this is a long-term question that I always get different answers. Are you a person who stands in the booth, or are you a sitter?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. That question just came up today. I was in session today on an interactive project, and they asked me if I wanted to sit or stand. And I'm always tempted to sit. Always. Every time I'm tempted to sit. But I feel more comfortable when I can stand, because I feel like it gives me room for being more energetic and being more dynamic in my performance. And that's interesting, because like when I did Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness for Nick, I would always stand. All 3 seasons, every single episode, I was standing for that thing. But then when we would do pickups, which would require just as much, if not more, energy, because we were coming in and usually, making effort noises to picture or whatever, I'd almost always sit. Just sit and get in the zone. So it depends, I guess, on the project for me. If we're doing live records or cast records of first-time stuff, I have to be standing, just so I can feel it. Otherwise, my energy level's like off.
Yeah, I can sympathize a lot. I can understand, though, like, sitting down for reaction sounds, especially if it's something to, like, somebody, kicks you in the gut. It's kind of easier to, like, crinkle, like, crunch up and go, ugh, so.
Yeah. I don't know if it was because it was easier or not, or if it was just more convenient to the session, or the session was shorter, because we were just, tracking the action of the animation or what have you. I will say there have been times, though, that we would be doing in various projects, whether it was Kung Fu Panda or some stuff I did on Sophia the First, or some of the other things I've done, where we are doing that ADR, we are doing those pickups and throwing in a little extra noises that need to get put into the episode, and they're as strenuous or more strenuous than the original record, because you are having to make such big efforts. You're like, as you're like being slung around a mountain on a rope. You have to track the whole shot. But for whatever reason, I still am prone to do the sitting down. Huh. Funny.
Yeah, I always like to hear the different responses to that, because I feel like everyone has a different view. Or sometimes it will depend on the project. For example, if it's an audiobook, you don't necessarily want to stand up for, 16 hours.
Right.
It's like not everybody's favorite time, but I feel like it's always interesting to hear that. The other big debate is like, both headphones on are the offers one on, one off. But
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, that depends a lot on the studio that you're in too.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you're a headphones on guy or gal, sometimes you'll get to do a show or do a record in a studio where the casting director or the voice director wants you to have them off, because they sense that you're less inhibited. So you might be used to working with your headphones, and then you get into a situation like that, and they're like, "I'm sorry, no, we don't use headphones in here. I'd prefer that you just, went without the cans." And I've had a couple of different talent tell me about how unnerved they were by that sometimes, until they got used to it. So sometimes that can be your call, and it's a preference thing, and sometimes it's based on what environment you're in.
That's interesting, because I always feel when my headphones are on, like fully on,
Mm-hmm.
I just always have this sense that like I'm louder, and I can't listen to my voice as well as I could normally. Like even though I know that you can hear it back in the headphones, it's just something. I don't know. It feels weird to me. So I'm a head one on, one off kind of person. But
You're like uncommittal about it. You're like, I just want some of me in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need 5.1. I'm good with monaural. The thing that I find is that the talent that I've worked with, either from coaching or just helping through auditions, or sometimes in some cases just being a peer of them. The talent I've worked with who have worked with the headphones both on, and struggled with them coming off, it's that they couldn't hear themselves. They were so used to directing at the same time that they were trying to act that when they didn't have the opportunity to have like live monitoring of what they sounded like in their own ears through the sound system, they didn't know what to do with themselves. And one guy I was working with is an international talent and is just making his way into this market in Los Angeles. But had been 20 years established in his home country of South Africa, and he had come to me because his agent had said your animation reads feel really stilted. What you need to liven those up a little bit. And I told him, I said, try doing it without your headphones. So he took the headphones off, and it was a night and day difference, because then it was almost like he was on stage and he was just acting the part, as opposed to monitoring himself and listening to how whether or not he was pronouncing things right, or how harsh the peace sound was coming across on the pop filter, or any of the other things that you become aware of when you're self-monitoring. Just letting himself go from that was the difference. The sad thing is he hasn't come back and paid me any more money to coach him. The good stuff is I'm sure he's booking more. So.
Well, there you go. There's a plus and a negative.
Right. That's right.
Well, I feel like my chat room will lynch me if I don't ask about this, because everyone, so we have a live chat, and they post pictures every day about what new heroes they've gotten in Fire Emblem Heroes. Every day. I can't play it, but everybody else can. I'm not careful. And you actually got to play quite a few characters in that game. Were you familiar at all with the Fire Emblem series?
Only vaguely. I'm a bad fanboy. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to disillusion our audience, but I knew of Fire Emblem as a property, and I knew some vague information about some of the characters, but it actually wasn't until the game was released that I found out what a big deal at least one of the characters was that I played, that I was able to take over from Liam O'Brien, who did a fantastic job with the character, and just for one reason or another was unavailable for this iteration of the property, the character of Laszlo. And I didn't realize what a big deal Laszlo was until, like, my goddaughter, who's an 18, 19-year-old otaku type, like, text messages me and says, "Are you Laszlo?" And I'm like, maybe?
I don't remember. It
was like 6 months ago. And she's like, "That is one of my favorite heroes, oh my god." And I was like, wow, I've arrived. This is awesome.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of girls would claim that is their husbando, so,
Well, I understand, and I'm happy to be that, in any case.
And then everybody was really excited. So have you gotten a chance to, download the game at all and get it on your phone and play it at all, out of curiosity?
I have not, but it is on the to-do list, and I'm not just saying that to pay lip service or blow smoke. It's just one of those things where, again, thankfully, I've just been so busy with projects and stuff that I haven't gotten a chance to check it out. But yeah, I've really wanted to. It's on my to get apps list, so I actually can't wait to check it out and see what the hubbub is.
Well, be careful, because if my chat is anything to go by, it is highly addicting.
I will be careful.
I'm not jealous or anything. No, I'm kidding. So the running joke, and just to inform you and keep you involved a little bit, is I still own a BlackBerry.
Oh my gracious!
I've had 3. They technically do Android apps, but because they'll do AKP, one of those files, whichever one's an Android file.
Yeah.
And however, that one won't run because I'm on a lower version. I just need a new phone because this one's like 4 years old. So there's the running joke. Now you can make fun of me.
Oh goodness!
I like my BlackBerry.
Very. Wow.
I want the new one. They have a new one coming out. I want to get it. I don't have a problem.
Buy a BlackBerry once. Shame on them. You buy a BlackBerry more than once, shame on you.
The next one will be my 4th.
My gosh.
Since out of high school, man, BlackBerry.
Have those little keypads? A little like
no.
black.
So yes, it depends. Yes and no. It depends on the phone. So the past 3 I've had have not. But the past 2 I had haptic feedback. Where you actually like the screen is almost like a button, so you feel something, which I really like. A lot of people are like, that's weird, because they're used to their iPhones, and I'm like, well, you're weird. But the key one does have an actual physical keypad, so yes, that is still a thing.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'm drawing a line in the sand. Here's the chat messengers, and first of all, thank you for being a fan, thank you for listening, and thank you for loving Laszlo. He loves you back. Very much. I love you very much. But I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and I'm going to say, good for you.
Yeah.
Don't be assimilated like the rest of us. Don't have Apple own your telecommunications. Be independent. Be a free thinker. I admire you for that, Jackie.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind.
I mean it. I admire you for that. You're not...
Eat that chat. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, come on. We love the chat, guys.
I do, but I gotta tease them every day. But that's part of my job. I actually get paid for that. No. But for the fans out there that want to keep up to date with, projects you have coming up, and if they want to stalk you in a nice way on the internet, where can they do that?
Best place is going to be on the Twitter, which is at Mick Wingert. I'm usually posting, or on Instagram, also at Mick Wingert on Instagram. And I just am keeping up-to-date with photos, like when I'm in session. Usually I'm trying to do gratuitous selfies with other much bigger voice actors than me. Or fun people that I think are just much more fun than I am. And so that the photos look like I'm a good time guy. But you can catch up with me on projects that I'm doing. Obviously, as most of us know, a lot of the stuff that's being done these days is all non-disclosure agreement stuff. But when they do let us announce launch dates or projects that we've worked on, that's usually my first go-to, because I'll have that update on I also have a fan page on Facebook. I believe it's called Mick Wingert Voice of Awesomeness. Is my Facebook fan page. You can like that page on Facebook if you'd like. But I have my Twitter feed directly to that, and then between that and Instagram, that's usually where I'm to be found.
So on Instagram, how many filter applications do you have?
Oh my gosh, I don't think I have any. I'm so behind.
No.
What?
No.
I knew that Snapchat has, which I'm way too old to be using Snapchat, so I don't. But I knew that Snapchat had filters, like you could make yourself into a dog or a cow or whatever. But I didn't know that. You mean like
almost like photo editing.
Oh yeah. So how many do I have, or how many do I use?
Yeah, how many do you have on your phone? Do you know?
Probably just the basic set that comes with just the filters that come with the thing. 'Cause I haven't invested in any extra. I feel so technologically behind. Ooh, I'm embarrassed.
So don't be embarrassed. I embarrass myself because I got into Instagram really hard last year, and then I just kept downloading more and more different apps. Ooh, this one does a photo grid, and this one does a collage, and this one puts little animal stickers, and this one I can whiten my teeth, and then it just didn't stop. So maybe I think I'm the one with the problem, not you. Don't worry about it.
Woo! I'm so glad. Yeah, I haven't downloaded anything extra. Only what Instagram comes with. Just your hipster camera feed, so you can make it look like a Polaroid or like an old timey, or you were taking photos in the 70s, which is well before you were born if you're a hipster. That kind of thing.
You need that sepia tone. That's what you need.
That sepia tone, because it makes it look old-timey.
Yeah. Okay. It was on my part, that was probably pretty horrible. But for the fans out there that want to meet you in real life, do you have any events that you have planned this year?
Not at this point. I know I will be at Comic-Con. I don't know if I'm going to be on the panel yet or not, but I know I'll be there personally. So check up on the Twitter and the Instagram. I usually post. I was just at WonderCon. I did the same thing. Come say hi to me at WonderCon. I'm on the convention floor or what have you. So if you're going to be at the Comic-Con this year in San Diego, I'll be there. But at this point, that's the only thing that is announced for personal appearance.
Man, I was also at WonderCon, but I was stuck at a booth the entire time.
Oh man!
So I didn't get to roam around, but that's okay.
Hey, you got to go to WonderCon.
Yeah, that's true. I got to watch people walk by. I'm kidding. But thanks for letting us know that. Now the fans know. Now they can keep up to date. They can keep glued to your Twitter and your Instagram and all that fun stuff. But since we're nearing the end of this interview, I was wondering if you'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Sure.
All right, we ask everyone whether they're a voice actor or not if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Sure.
Cool. The trick of it, however, is that we do the takes live on there, so if you screw up, everybody gets to hear it.
Oh, wonderful.
I can feel the spite in your voice. We basically ask if you'd be willing to say, hello, my name is, you put your name there. I do this, you can put whatever you want there.
Okay.
And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
All right. Hello, my name is Mick Wingert, and I sell ice to Eskimos, or Eskimos. I sell them to both. And you're listening to 91.8 The Fan.
Oh, that was fantastic. You don't even need a second take.
Yes!
Look at that.
They call me One Tick Wingert around here.
And the confetti rains down, and the crowd cheers and wine, or champagne. Well, thank you so much for this. This was a lot of fun.
I had a great time, too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. And for any of the fans out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can find it on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and your ears tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.
At all.